just when you thought that you couldn't be neurotic enough about your workouts, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of numbers your way. You saw the workout. You got 21 deadlifts, 185 for the dudes, 135 for the chicks. I wrote a bunch of notes. You're going to see those in a second or two, but then you're going to follow it up with 18 calories on the fan bike for the men, 15 for the women, and 9 shoulder overhead with that same deadlift weight that you'll see in front of you, 185, 135. I write fan bike because I have an online program. People from all over the world follow it, and I don't know if you've got an assault bike, an echo bike, an Airdyne, and I'll do a weekly call in every single time. I'll remind everybody, hey, it just says fan bike. See how those numbers popped up on the bottom? I told you that you were neurotic before, but now you're going to be crazy neurotic. Those are Alexis and Maya's deadlift times for the first set, deadlift 1. Here are the notes that I wrote to the Wadify team. 3 runs for time. There's the workout. You saw it at the beginning. I told you about it. And then I kind of tell you how you should plan to attack the workout. I write all these things down and I hammer into the crew. Look at these things. Try to look at the time caps. The time cap is where your eyes should usually go first and say, with the weights and the prescription of the volume in front of me, do I anticipate being able to beat the time cap? If not, that's when we should consider scaling. Look at the goal time, a little bit quicker. I say if you hit the goal times on every single workout, you're like a 3,000 to 5,000 in the CrossFit Open CrossFitter. If you beat the advanced times every single time I put up an advanced time, you're going to be in the top 1,000. Those are how I categorize advanced, goal time, and time cap. And I hear a lot of people saying the time caps are quick, and I go, well, maybe you should scale, or maybe if you want to be beating the time caps, those are the things that we should be working on. I write this thing for people who consider themselves potentially high-end, middle ground, semifinal people. Yes, I do believe that just following this online program, that would be possible. And this is how you should probably look at and attack your workouts if you plan on doing so. Check that one out. That's bike 1. I wrote in the notes, and maybe you were reading that as I was chatting here, that your first bike should be potentially even slower than your final bike. If not, you potentially mispaced the entire workout. I also wrote that you should have the intention, if you're going for that advanced time, of doing these shouldered overhead unbroken every single round. A lot of people probably think 185 for reps is kind of heavy. That said, the deadlift is very light. And the effect right here, and you're going to see a little red bubble pop up in a second, that's going to be the transition time from that final shoulder to overhead into your first deadlift. And all I'm thinking about right here is I'm trying to mitigate fatigue. I go, all right, if I pick up this deadlift bar too soon, and where is it? 18 seconds. See that? See that? Yeah, that's no bueno. That 18-second window, that's all wasted time. No work is being done. But who knows if shave off 8 seconds there and all of a sudden everything, all hell breaks loose because there was that mitigation of fatigue I was talking about. I do believe that all workouts should be paced similar to their running equivalent. So if it's a mile run and you're a 6-minute miler or an 8-minute miler, nobody sprints the first 400 because that'd be silly. Like, you want to pace the whole thing out, and maybe you've got a good kick in the last 100 to 200 meters. And every single time you run your mile, you're just practicing your pacing of that mile. Maybe I didn't run hard enough up front because I had way too much gas at the end. I don't want that much gas. And that's kind of what you're thinking about with every single workout. Did I push too hard? Did I push hard enough? And I think that's usually why when you do workouts again and again and again, do Fran 4 weeks in a row, and there's a good chance if you're not an elite and really maximizing your Fran times, that you're probably going to go faster every single time. If you're like a 4-minute Franner, you go 3:45, and you're going to go 3:30, and then you go, wow, I'm just getting so much fitter. It's like, no, you're probably just understanding your pacing better. That's a lot of the reason also why when you look at people who have been doing it for a decade, they're usually the best at pacing the sport because they've been doing it forever. And I just said sport. Yeah, this is all competitive stuff. This is, when you break it down the way you're looking at it, it's a very maximizing your potential sporty sort of style of looking at it. And the biggest thing I noticed here is that Alexis's transition from the shoulder to overhead on her first round into the deadlift on her second round was 10 seconds quicker than me. That said, I smoked her on everything else. I got her on the bike because women had 15 calories, men had 18. That's a fair equivalent for men to women. And the bike to the shoulder to overhead is another one of those important times. See, bike to shoulder to overhead, how much time does it take for you to get yourself on the bar after you finish that last calorie on the bike? And then the difference in deadlift round over round. So first round, Alexis and I both tied at 37 seconds. You'll see that those are slower on the second round, mostly because there was a break. They weren't done unbroken, and very similar to how quickly can I pick that bar up off of the final shoulder to overhead into the deadlift. Is it really smart to do all 21 unbroken? Depends on who you are, depends on how fit you are, and that's just the game that we're playing. So here you see the seconds are counting up, bike to shoulder to overhead. Tighten up the belt, Andrew, pull the shorts down. You're just wasting so much time. 15 seconds to be precise you wasted while you were doing all of that stuff. You better hope that you do these things unbroken, wasting all that time. And yes, that's what's going on in my head. How much time do I need? What's the risk to reward? Did I pick the bar up too soon? Am I going to blow up if I don't take those additional, what would have been 6 seconds compared from round 1 to round 2 in the bike to shoulder to overhead? These are all, believe it or not, things that I'm thinking about in the workout. I didn't know that it was 15 seconds. That's stuff that I all found out after the fact. I knew that it was longer than round 1. I knew that I was fatigued, and I also tried to pick up that bar as soon as I could after that final shoulder overhead. Honestly, it felt like I was going quicker. Not 1 second quicker, which is quicker, but it probably felt, wow, I'm flying. I picked it up like probably 5 to 6 seconds quicker than I did in my first transition. But no, it was 1 second, and time is just completely dead. It's like holding a plank. You ever see that wiener dog meme? The wiener dog is holding the plank. It's like they do it their entire lives, and for a human, a minute seems like an eternity. Now look at this. There's a guy, his name is Seth Leali. He was actually Bill Leahy's chiropractor. He was working on him in between events of the CrossFit Games this year. And I always had an issue with resting with your hands on your knees until I saw this guy named Seth resting with his hands on his knees, who continued to destroy, I believe it was 17.5. There's a bunch of double unders and thrusters in an open workout. And in between them, he was resting with his hands on his knees. And then he put up a top 50 score in the open. I'm like, damn, if he can rest there, I can rest there. I used to have a wrestling coach who said, it shows weakness, don't put your hands on your knees. And I told Seth, I'm like, you rest there? And he goes, I can breathe better there. I go, wow, that just makes a lot of sense. And maybe you saw my video the other day with the intentionality behind the World Fitness Project, editing, documentary. And I think a lot of that should be thought about here too. It's like, why are you taking this break? I'm telling you a handful of reasons about, is the juice worth the squeeze and picking the bar up too soon? Is the bike pace worth the squeeze, or is it just going to bite you in the butt? And the same thing has to do with resting. Why are you resting like that? Why did you fall to your back after the workout? And Alexis, why are you using 115 pounds? Something worth talking about, because I'm using 185, the women's weight is 135. Maybe a couple of you have done the math at this point. So before the workout, she's like, I didn't sleep that well. I also was push pressing 115 earlier. I know that I can use that weight. She had the shoulder surgery. She's on her recovery route. We're getting ready for this competition next weekend. And you'll see that the workout takes her right around that goal time. So it was an appropriate scale, her using 115 pounds. And the deadlift might be a little light. Maybe she smoked it. Maybe that's why she's beating me on all of these. No, I was beating her on the deadlift. She's beating me on the transition from the shoulder to overhead into the deadlift every single round. I'm just going to say that's because she was using 115. If she had a 135 on the bar, she would not want to pick that thing up after doing those shoulder to overhead. And I'm completely kidding. She probably would. She was smoking that part of it. This is my last set. Transition from the bike to the shoulder to overhead was phenomenal. It says 9 seconds right there. So that was the time of the first round. It's because I know I got nothing left after this. I can kind of sell out a little bit. And that is exactly what everybody should be doing. You should be pacing to sell out at the back end of the workout. Check out my third bike pace, 122 when compared to the first one was 121. In hindsight, yeah, probably push that thing a little bit harder. My bike, damn, does my bike suck these days. If I were primetime, top shape Andrew Hiller, I'd probably be looking to keep that thing over 70 RPM across the 3 sets. When I was doing this one today, once I did get it up to speed, the speed was 62 to 64 RPM, which is abysmal by my sense, by the sense of some people who will look at this like, damn, Hiller's really biking slow. But if you can see, and if you know how I felt, it was probably about right. This workout ended up being like an 8.6 out of 10 as far as how badly it was hurting me when all was said and done. Alexis over here informed me that she felt like she was going to throw up her yogurt. So I was giving her a little bit of a hard time. I'm like, let's go, finish it. Because I know, and I'm in coaching mode over here. So I tell her, dude, last round, I can tell that your bike pace, I can just listen to the fan at this point, and I can tell her, hey, the bike sounds like it's going slower. Pick it up. Let's go get on the bar. I know that you're doing those things, and they look pretty easy. And she's like, my stomach, the belt. The thing about a belt, and probably something worth noting altogether, is why are you wearing a belt on 185 deadlifts and shoulder to overhead? Well, the goal today for me was to make this thing hurt as bad as possible. In the full body, I'm done a CrossFit Metcon sort of style hurt. The goal wasn't to be as functionally moving as a human and not use a belt because 185 hinders the way that you might be moving in every average ordinary day life. I think that a belt makes a deadlift weight feel, no matter how heavy it is, 5 to 10% easier. And if you can do that for rep over rep, you're going to be able to do more reps quicker. Same thing goes for the shoulder to overhead. You can do 185 and I can do 185 unbroken for 9, but how easy is it and how much is it going to allow you to then do what's said next? And I believe that my lungs and my soul paid the price for that afterwards. Again, intentionality. Why did I do that? I gave you a reason. I wanted to hurt more for having had to go faster because the work in front of me felt a little bit lighter. Is it actually easier? No, you're still moving 185. Did it feel easier? Yes. Because it felt easier, did I go faster? Yes. That's how all of that stuff works. Should I use it every single time to make myself also cap out as fast as I can go every single time? No, probably not. But there's a competition next weekend, Backland Games. I believe they got one spot left. If you want to sign up for that and make your way out to Downers Grove, Illinois, you can do that. But see, Alexis, this is where I was like, dude, let's go. And she's like, my stomach hurts. The belt is pushing on my stomach. We don't train with belts as much anymore. Which is true, we don't. So we put it on, figured it'd be way easier. And Alexis is like, nope, don't know how to wear a belt. Look at that face she's making. She's like, meh, the belt. And every other round she broke these things up, 6 and 3. And on her final round, she's going to just knock them all out consecutively. When I watch Alexis front rack a barbell, when I watch Alexis go overhead with the barbell, I'm envious. And I'm sure a lot of you guys get secondhand jealousy as well, watching people with super mobile appendages. Yep, because when I go front rack, it's getting a little stiff. I met up with Froning, I don't know, not too long ago, and he's like, yeah, sometimes things just hurt. My time, 8:57, Alexis' time, 12:36. The goal time was under 12, the time cap was 14, so she beat the time cap. I beat the advanced time. If every single time I do a workout and I go under the advanced time, I could be top 1,000, which I was not this year.
It's really not that hard.
Yeah, right.
Just,
Wasn't hard.
like wearing my belt, pressing my stomach, and I literally want to throw up my yogurt. What was my score?
Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it makes you a little bit more thoughtful while you're going about what you happen to do today. Maybe it's this workout for you. Talk to you later.